before my fellow commissioners and I each provide our opening statements, I'd like to give our usual disclaimer, which is that each of us will be providing our own views and remarks, which do not represent those of the SEC or our fellow commissioners.
Something not so newsworthy, I'm going to remind you that my remarks are mine alone, not necessarily those of the commission, the commissioners, or the staff.
Before I go any further, I should say that the comments I'll make today are my own, not those of the commissioner, or any other staff members.
Before I begin, I'd like to note that my views are my own and not speaking on behalf of the fellow commissioners or staff. That's the standard language that you've probably heard in the past.
Ladies and gentlemen, everything stated in my content and in my videos are my personal opinion. And I do stand behind everything I say, unlike the weak men that you just saw before your very eyes. Every single one of those people had the audacity to say they stand up for your protection, for investor protection. There's nothing more weak than obliterating 60% of investors' wealth in a day, leaving as the chair of the SEC the next day, then hiding the documents proving the conflicts of interest and corruption, then finally saying it's to protect us. Fuck you too.
What?
Yes, Gary Gensler, you are the worst of the three. The reason is because Hinman and Clayton, we know they're corrupt. They're both profiting off Bitcoin and Ether, and the clarity they gave those two from the power they had while in office. But you're the worst of them all. You're the biggest coward, because you can end this nonsense, and you're choosing not to protect them so that you can eventually be corrupt. It's pathetic. You see, let me give you some perspective. We're in the middle of an 18-month-long health crisis that completely shut down the global economy. And there are only a couple things in the world right now. After you locked down our small businesses, you took away our jobs that people could do to make money. That's stocks and crypto and maybe some other nonsense. But those two are open to the public. And then you took away that. You're going to continue trying to take away that. Ladies and gentlemen, the buck does not stop with XRP. This case we are annihilating the SEC in. But they're going to come after the entire space. And the leaks that they're doing that. The nuggets of information showing that they're going to continue are being shown today. We see in this Reuters article that the US SEC is investigating crypto exchange developer UNISWAP. UNISWAP is being come after by the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, do not get it twisted. Any crypto you may own at this given moment in time is under threat. Remember that SEC risk alert issued in February. Exchange regulation is coming. They're going to try and annihilate your coins. That does not mean they're going to succeed. That just means there is a threat. In the immediate short term, we are in a confirmed bull market, but we have to project into the future while also adapting to the present. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I can continue, I genuinely have to give all of you a disclaimer. You see, the bearable bull, he does have an alter ego. And when blatant corruption, when blatant inhumane acts are occurring, he degenerates. His evil twin comes out. That evil twin is TORO LOCO. I told you he was beginning to leak a little bit when I started making OnlyFans trades. But now today, with everything the SEC is doing, the bull has been completely uncaged. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna get very spicy and passionate about what I'm about to say. The SEC would not piss me off as much as they do if they did not say they stand for investor protection. Bullshit. They stand for maximizing their pockets through bureaucracy. All they want from all these cryptos is fine money. Constant fine money, fine money, fine money. Let me make myself clear. There will be a massive crash in crypto and 99% of cryptos will go away. Tether is a blatant scam, Ponzi scheme. That needs to go away. We just saw Tether being printed. We just saw more Tether being printed, and that could be a reason why the prices are continuing to pump. Keep that in mind. Just keep an eye out on Tether and what continues to develop, because they are a factual fraud. And no ifs, ands, or buts about that. No blatant lies by the Tether team could change that. I've seen enough. But at the same time, we see every crypto that's about to stay, every crypto with massive staying power, is here and ready to continue exploding. This is not an accident. This is the synchronistic rollout of the system they want. Do you really want to see an example? Ladies and gentlemen, this crypto is Polymath. Polymath is one of my largest holdings in my crypto portfolio. And in the past day, it rose to $1.34 from a 37-cent low, approximately 225% in a day. That is not an accident. When we look at its chart, it's absolutely exploded. Straight line to the moon. That's exactly what happened. You think as they're coming after UNISWAP, Polymath's rise is an accident? Absolutely not. Do you guys want to know what Polymath is? Polymath is a security token exchange. They are getting ready for regulatory clarity. You see, what pisses me off about Gary Gensler and the SEC is he says there's clarity in the open market. What bullshit. A complete abomination to regulators as a whole. You see, Hester Pierce is someone who should actually be the chair of the SEC, because she understands the U.S. can thrive in the fourth industrial revolution and this innovation. And just listen to her speak. Common sense, innovation, and regulatory clarity is all she wants. But we can't have that, because we have corrupt imbeciles running our government. Please take a listen.
Now we have a very broad definition of security, which is intentional, because you want to make sure that if someone is raising capital to build a company, that is encompassed within our jurisdiction. So we have this kind of open-ended definition that captures those kinds of things. But that has been quite difficult for a lot of projects that are trying to do a token release, that are trying to get the tokens out there so that people can use them in the network, and the network can take hold with network effects. And so what I proposed is you have a 3-year period where you make disclosures to the people who are buying your tokens. You update those disclosures periodically. You're telling people what the token economics is. You're telling them what your plan for development is. And when you tell them that, you better be telling them the truth, because you're subject to the anti-fraud rules under the securities laws. But at the end of 3 years, if you can show that your token is a utility token, essentially, or if you can show that your network is decentralized, then you can move out of the securities framework and you can go about your merry way without worrying about the securities laws. This is something that, from talking to people in this space, they think it would be useful.
You see, guys, how hard is that? I don't think it's that difficult, right? That's common sense regulation, a safe harbor period to foster innovation. Tom Emmer has also come with the Securities Clarity Act. You see, these two people are pro-US and pro-innovation. Gary Gensler is pro-enforcement. Regardless, Polymath is an example of a crypto that is thriving due to this nonsense. due to the potential security tokens that will be defined by enforcement actions. You see, guys, despite how much I truly dislike the SEC, I'm ready to profit from anything they could possibly do. Or invested in the correct tokens, the ones that will survive clarity. Whether they're more friendly to crypto or tyrannical to it, we'll be ready. Now I have a very brief message for the SEC. You guys do not protect investors. TORO LOCO and his other twin, the Bearable Bull, protect investors. You see, I let my Udemy students know about Polymath at 8 cents. The fact that I pinpointed this crypto this early was not an accident. You see, I'm trying to protect investors. The SEC is trying to destroy you. And just a brief message to my audience, you really must hate making money at this point if you aren't subscribed to this course. Down in the description below. Stop hating money and let the bull protect you. We're already beginning to take profits as some people are beginning to FOMO into Polymath. I protect you from those bad decisions. We're trying to become sophisticated investors and protect ourselves with getting incredible cryptos at low entry points before they're even being discussed. The only reason there's a paywall is to filter out the peripheral viewers, the non-serious people, from getting information like this, because if a crypto fails, they'll be the first one to blame somebody else other than themselves. I only want serious people in here, and that's why I do things the way I do. Now, considering that they're going for clarity, considering that Polymath exploded because I believe clarity on security tokens is coming, what can we do? First of all, let me state that Hester Pierce has separated herself from Gary Gensler in the SEC because she does not agree with the incompetence of this organization. That's one. Two, even if Gensler does come after cryptos, DeFi, etc., the innovation can always go around it. You see, I go about complying with cryptos, right? I like investing in compliant cryptos, but trust me when I tell you, I know exactly how to circumvent all of this stuff. I think plenty of us also know how to work around the regulations, but we're trying our best to comply. Gensler, we really don't want to do anything illegal, but you're making it very, very hard. None of us are doing anything bad. But it seems to me like the SEC themselves should be investigating themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I have plenty of more clips exposing their corruption. Here's one example of Elizabeth Warren asking in 2017 V Clayton of his ties to a billionaire. Oh, the behind the doors politics when it comes to all these people. It says it all. And when Warren asked the really tough questions to V Clayton, watch how his body language gives away the lies he's saying out of his mouth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please take a listen to V Clayton saying he's supposed to be protecting investors while suing Ripple his last day in office, causing a 60% crash in the market, while at the same time he protects peoples like Carl Icahn, a quantum billionaire. Please take a listen to this nonsense.
Mr. Clayton, last December, President-elect Trump's transition team announced that Carl Icahn would be serving as special advisor to the president on issues related to regulatory reform. Now, as you know, Mr. Icahn is a longtime activist investor with holdings of more than $16 billion. He has massive holdings in public companies like CVR Energy, an oil refinery, and Herbalife, medical supplement manufacturer. And as far as we can tell, He has not divested any of these investments, despite his role in this administration shaping regulatory policy that affects the companies that he's invested in. Now, about 2 weeks after Mr. Icahn was named to this position, you were nominated to lead the SEC. And according to news reports, Mr. Icahn helped President-elect Trump choose you. That's troubling for a number of reasons, especially considering that the SEC is actively investigating Herbalife, one of Mr. Icahn's largest investments. So, Mr. Clayton, have you had any conversations or other communications with Mr. Icahn since the election on November 8th?
The news reports that Carl Icahn had, I don't know. I have no knowledge that
I
would
just
be
asked-
true. No, but I'm
Fair
getting
enough.
to you. After my nomination was announced, I had a bit of heads up that it was going to be announced. But after it was announced, I got a call to ask me to meet with Carl Icahn, and I met with him.
So you met with Carl Icahn not before you were nominated, but after you were nominated?
Correct.
And can you tell us what you talked about?
We talked about Mr. Icahn's view on the importance of activist investors and how they, through their methods, drive performance of public companies.
And let me guess, he thinks activist investors are a good thing and should be encouraged in the marketplace.
I think he thinks they do well for markets.
Yeah. Did he talk about any of his investments?
No.
All right. So he just talked generally about his view and talked about his view about how the SEC should.
No real specifics on.
So he just wanted to give you his general view on activist investors, knowing that you were the SEC chair nominee.
Correct.
And that was the only conversation you had with him?
No.
Or with any of his people?
No, we talked. I mean, that conversation. That was the only time I've spoken with Mr. Icahn or his people, before, after, during.
And that was the only topic of the conversation when you met, the two of you?
He congratulated me. We talked
Fair
about
enough.
people we knew in common, that kind of thing. It's the first time I met him.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've really just been going to town on the SEC today because I'm tired. We're all sick and tired of being sick and tired. And trust me when I say I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all could tell by J. Clayton's body language just how suspect he is. We all knew it, but to see it and the evidence pointing to the likelihood that he is astonishing. Keep that in mind. Now guys, before I can continue, I have to say a powerful shout out to Paul Barron. I've been a fan of his channel for quite a while. Very professional, very powerful content. And please take a look as he's beginning to cover more XRP content. And I think you'd enjoy a lot of the additional things he's been discussing. Now, when it comes to the SEC and all the blows they've been receiving from Ripple, I think one of the biggest blows the SEC has is the fact that they had a former chair, Mary Jo White, on Ripple's legal team, and a former enforcer, Andrew Serseny, on Ripple's legal team as well. Please listen to Andrew Serseny, a former SEC enforcer, discuss the SEC's mission statement and company morale under Mary Jo White's administration there. And remember just how abysmal J. Clayton's administration has been. And remember that Gary Gensler already has Hester Pierce against him in this administration. Needless to say, the SEC's morale right now is in the gutter. The poor lawyers for the SEC, I mean, my gosh. They're never going to have a career after this moving forward. After this case against Ripple. And you got to feel bad for them.
How do you think the enforcement division changed during your time?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what we talked about early on. I really feel like during my tenure, and again, it's because of the work of the enforcement division folks, that I thought the enforcement division got back to where it was pre-Madoff, frankly.
Okay.
And I think we essentially, I think morale during our tenure was extremely high. I think best places to work survey, I think we went up by 20-30%. And I think people really sort of had a pride of working at the SEC, working in the enforcement division. And I think we made, great progress. I think there was a view that, we were the cop on the beat and that, where there were violations, we were going to bring a case. Albeit, I think it was important to be fair and reasonable. I think people perceived us as such. And I think the other thing is I think people felt, I hope, that I was, supportive of what they were trying to do, that I think, again, I always said, what we accomplish is because of the people who are working in the division and really day in, day out coming into work and really sort of wanting to achieve and advance the mission. And that was why we were successful as we were.
Ladies and gentlemen, who you just saw was Andrew Cersany, very professional and beast of a lawyer for Ripple. But right now on the screen, what you're seeing are the maxis capitulating. The XRP train is leaving the station and a few of them managed to make the cut. Who you just saw on the screen was Bitboy, trying to let all his Bitcoin maxi friends know about this opportunity before it's too late. Oh, how times have changed. Plenty of them are missing the opportunity. Oh, so sad. Nobody cares. You should have known earlier. Guys, this is what we're going to be dealing with. More people jumping on board right before it's too late. And all I'm saying is, it's great to see all of them giving us the credit we deserve. Now please take a listen to this interview Bitboy had with Raul Paul of Real Vision.
XRP is a great risk reward, right? The lawsuit, we've seen every lawsuit, every single one has been a fine.
Everyone.
A slap on the wrist, because everybody's actually cleared up after the event anyway. And these events were a while ago. BitMEX, that's happening. We're going to see all of this. So I think it's going to be a slap on the wrist, that it could have looked like a security. There'll be no admission of guilt on either side. There'll be a payment of a fine, and then XRP is free to run. What's interesting about XRP is there is quite a lot of use cases. Now, I know a bunch of Bitcoin people hate it. It's not decentralized enough. I don't care. It's, are people using it? Yes, a lot more than most people realize. And what's amazing about this setup is you can't buy us on any of the exchanges. And it's not in the Bitwise ETF. The Bitwise ETF is now $1 billion. The Bitwise index is, the top 10 index is $1 billion. So the moment XRP is freed, they have to buy a few $100 million of it, as everybody else can, because the exchanges will have it back. So you're setting up for a hell of a nice run if this clears up. Worst case, it doesn't. Worst case is, let's say, 50% downside. Best case is 10x from here. So I'll take a 50-to-1 risk reward for the next 3 to 6 months.
Ladies and gentlemen, unlike any community on the planet, we've really been through the ringer. Sometimes I get emotional in videos like this because I'm so passionate about where we've come from and where we're about to get to. I can see the promised land. We're almost past the finish line. And I know you've all heard this message for years, but now it's so close. We all feel it. The hyper-suppressed price of our precious XRP is coming to an end. This $1.28 entry point is still profound, especially for those of you that have not gotten in yet. One of our best chart analysts, Rob Art, has been saying we've been reaching higher lows for the past few months. And now, in my personal opinion, we are ready to explode. So convenient that retail investors cannot buy XRP because it's delisted from exchanges. This is the most volatile time in human history, and that means the biggest wealth transfer that will ever happen in the history of mankind is on the horizon. I believe XRP will be the biggest wealth-generating asset out of all of them. Time will settle any and all arguments left on that statement. But it seems like the perfect storm is upon us. The supply shock will be real. The stars are aligning. The utility is here to be had. And all of us are waiting on standby, witnesses to the future greatest show on earth. In the words of Jungle Link, the revolution is being televised. And I wouldn't miss it for anything else. This is the Bearable Bull here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
I get 24 hours a day just like Bill Gates. I get 24 hours a day just like Beyonce and Jay-Z. You get 24 hours a day, ladies and gentlemen. What do you do with your 24 hours? You need to get more information in our coaching program. All we do is drop content nonstop. And people are like, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that. See, you don't even know what you don't know. How did you let me come from behind and clip you? Do you guys know the studies show the better we look, the more money we make? Which means your website should pass the eyeball test. Your truck should pass the eyeball test. Your people should pass the eyeball test. You should pass the eyeball test. Everybody in this room has a promised land somewhere, but you can't be stuck on the city you like. You got to hear God and go to your promised land. Your promised land might be Utah. Your promised land might be Minnesota. Your promised land might be Wyoming. Hear me clearly. You better use your money to get information and access, and you better be flexible because a real shark is flexible. Can we stop fronting and get real about this thing? And if I can do it, you can do it. I knew nothing about life. I knew nothing about business, but I had the right mindset, and I learned it through sports. And y'all got to hear my story so you understand. I didn't even start on my college basketball team. I came off the bench. At the University of Minnesota, I came off the bench. But in my mind, you can bring me off the bench, but I'm an NBA ball player when you get through talking. When you get through, I'm an NBA ball player. And that's why I would walk around and say, you can't check me. You can't check me. You can't check me. If I was you, I would walk around every day and say, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I declare it right now. I'm worth millions. I'm worth millions. I will receive my salary right now, but I won't accept it as my value. So whatever you receive right now, receive it, but don't you accept it as your value. Because there's more out here for you if you change your mindset.